trust. It could hurt my love, y'all, but you really got the choice, but have some. We all fall down, never getting used to feel numb. It's getting hard to overcome some. Knowledge to be free from this gun. One shot and I'm down. Oh, I know that all is my fault. Never learn from it all, like a fastball in motion. I'm hoping, I thought that we had it all. Now I'm broken and scarred, and I'm scared of it all. No joking. Oh, no joking. Oh, I thought that we had it all. Now I'm broken and scarred, and I'm scared of it all. Oh, no joking. What do you really know about love? It's doing more discovering us. Don't really have a choice but try on. We all fall down, never getting used to spider. All the times I have lost love, getting out to overcome someone wrong, and I'm down. Oh, I know that all is my fault. Never learn from it all, like a fastball in motion. I'm hoping, I thought that we had it all. Now I'm broken and scarred, and I'm scared of it all. No joking. Oh, no joking. Oh, I thought that we had it all. Now I'm broken and scarred, and I'm scared of it all. Oh, no joking. We all fall down.
Welcome, everybody, to the Paladins Global Series. We're halfway through the week, I guess, now, right? Sounds
Over
about
half?
right. Over half. We're, I think, like halfway through this set, we'll be like
including this
PGS.
one, we have 3 PGS broadcasts left,
True.
whereas we've had 4 before.
I just
So
never...
it's
Oh,
that
it's
awkward middle
Thursday.
point. It is Thursday.
I was thinking it was Wednesday.
Yeah, I've been on that schedule yesterday. Yesterday I thought it was Tuesday the whole day.
Well...
No, I thought it was like Friday and Tuesday for me. It was very confusing.
Who even knows anymore? Regardless of what day of the week it is, as long as it's not Saturday or
Thursday,
Sunday, we do have Paladins action. It is Thursday, which means we have SEA ahead for you. And the top 4 teams within the bracket of this week do qualify to the last week of the phase, in which they can fight for their right to attend the next LAN. But we've got Gutka Makesh and Lilith's Child, looks like.
Not quite as fun names as North America brought us, but I will say a lot of fun, usually in this region, a lot of like variants, I want to say, in champions and the way they play, where it's in that area of like, you can tell some things are still like catching up meta-wise in some areas, and then some things are just, they seem outlandish, but they work perfectly here.
Yeah, so I'm curious to see what this region brings to the table as we go to map number 1 of our best of 5 series, which is Serpent Beach. As you can see the map bands below as well. No Jaguar, interesting.
No Jaguar. Frozen Guard, I guess, is kind of in that area where, honestly, if it's banned or not, it's one of those things that I'm not too surprised to see it get banned, while at the same time I'm kind of wondering, you know, like No Ascension Peak gets banned away, so you're like, maybe that'll come through for one of these teams, although that's not something that comes through too often. Everything more than likely on this map just going to kind of stick to the standards.
Potentially. Makoa, Zen, Maeve all banned away, as well as Cassie. Very popular picks across the board. So Lilith, I am wondering where their name comes from, because I know different situations where there's like lore attached to that name in particular and stuff. So I'm wondering, curious, somebody hit me up and tell me where you came up with that name. But Shaolin is the first lock-in.
Drogo's on the other side. And this is actually a map, because of the region again, I wouldn't be too surprised to see an EV come through, but I'm kind of wondering which one's going to go for it. Gutka go here for the Drogo's Khan, and I think that is in that area again where it's like, you're looking at what these top teams are doing, and you're taking just a couple of those strategies and being able to kind of pull it back home to yourself.
Yeah, Drogos and Khan, Genos, and Drogos really on the uptake as of late. And on this map, especially if you're on the side of Lilith, you're looking for some kind of way to just clip it out of the sky. Shaolin has the potential to do that if you really just stick him on this Drogos before he can have too heavy of an impact. But Saris may be locked in here.
I actually think this is much better, even better now that it's Ying for Lilith, because if you have a person on your team that can play Leon, this is just when you scoop her up. Someone who can apply that anti-heal would be perfect for this, especially with Cassie banned. She fills that role similar to where I guess Shaolin is going to be placed. They're going to go ahead and glance over that, go for the Buck, the Bomb King, which is still a lot of damage and a lot of mobility on this map.
And it seems like that's what they're prioritizing, where, okay, whatever healing might happen, let's just break through it and get a lot of burst damage. Strix on the side of Gutka, so...
No Inara.
Interesting. Inara has been kind of strangely not getting as much love lately, despite there's nothing different. She's still very strong, and people are just kind of going for, I don't know, different strategies. I think Khan like being more popular and stuff.
I think she just has too much of kind of like a one-track playset when it comes down to it. There's not too much variance in what Inara is going to do. Everything in her kit is very laid forward, like very straightforward. Everything about her is very straightforward. You go to the point, you stand there, you have some damage reduction, you get healed, and every now and then you ult or you use a good wall to try and get some control. Otherwise, you can flex onto Terminus, who does a good amount of damage, Khan, who gets a lot of bursting, Fernando, who does a lot of damage, and Makoa if he happens to make it through.
Indeed. Yeah, Makoa, sadly, still on the bench for a long period of time. But even when he has made it through, it hasn't always been this just huge impact, crazy play from him, because sometimes it really is up to the player to navigate him properly. But it's H2K on this Drogos, raining in some nice shots into the Terminus immediately, who has to duck behind the wall and might be subject to some additional just problems if he doesn't get out of this.
Those Fusillade hits are just on point with the way things are going, and it's a lot of damage, but unfortunately Khan right now is the one who's getting low. That's going to be first blood. H2K gets rid of the Terminus and immediately gets aggressive right into Patrick.
Double kill, 51% for Gutka in the time being, so they've already passed that halfway mark, and Lilith's Lilith's Child with 2 of their players currently down. It makes it much more difficult for them to be able to actually turn this.
Especially in the area, they're running that solo frontline, so that's the first person they end up losing. They lose their Bomb King second, so it's just your tankiness and then a huge chunk of your damage. Yeah, Buck and Shaolin are still going to be able to kind of give you a huge force for it, but they're not going to be anywhere near as safe. Buck, depending on his maneuverability and like levels of leg day on Serpent Beach, might give him the jumps he needs to get around and actually like do something against the Drogos, but with everything else, it is a very difficult task to get back onto this point.
And Buck can actually, if you just get a really good sequence going, turn it around. What match was it? Was it yesterday we saw where it looked like I think Buck wasn't running leg day or something, tried to get onto the high ground, but couldn't quite make it.
Peek, and then he fell back down.
Oh, I see you,
Like,
but
he got his chin up on the wall.
And the nice thing about Buck, when you are running the right build, you can actually jump up there and just kind of slaughter whoever is lying in wait to use that high ground.
And it's just one of those things where I feel like a bunch of Buck players have probably 2 or 3 different builds. One is going to be just your standard, okay, I'm running bulk up, I'm going to keep myself healed up and, you know, get my damage reduction, all that running. One is my Serpent Beach bulk up, which is going to give me a little bit more mobility so I can jump from ledge to ledge. And then the other one's going to be running for more like ensnare, just making sure you have that kind of option in case it comes up.
99% overtime and a nice little pushback onto H2K. But Strix is a whole different type of damage that can be applied from the opposite end. So even when Drogos goes down, you still have to focus down on the Strix, otherwise it'll be really heavy poke. But in the meantime, Lilith's Child doing a decent job of cleaning up. They took out the frontliners as well, which allows them to get some level of point control.
I will say I admire Don Quixote going for a no-scope shot onto the Buck, because that was one of those areas where, honestly, that seems like the best way to try and open it up. But it was mainly Shaolin. Dragon Punch comes through. Buck Wild going to be good. A couple of shots here, a couple of shots there, and Patrick going to be able to clean up the kills. But Gutka are the ones who walk in and take the point.
Oh, man, Lilith's Child, for a moment they had hope, but then it was eliminated as Gutka. They do capture. They are starting to move on forward a little bit with the payload, but not too much just yet. I think they need to take advantage of right now. They just got a couple kills onto Lilith's Child, and you know that they're going to take the high ground on the defensive side, so try and make it past a little bit of this uphill battle first.
Immediately looking to get aggressive, has the CC immunity from the shout, but not going to have to worry about any of the stuns coming through. Gets out of the distance of it, and is looking to engage again. I love the way H2K is playing this, because he's just getting aggressive. It's one of those things as Drogos, it's honestly not recommended 9 times out of 10, but if you can make it work, you're like, I'm going to go in and get 2 kills minimum, then it's going to be worthwhile for you every step of the way.
Yeah, because even though he's died in those situations, it's still a 2-for-1 each time. So the net value is still in the favor of your own team. But Nif right here on the high ground managed to get the kill onto Nando. So the thing about Gutka is they do have the double front line, so you have a bit more to rely upon. But as you can see, Khan has been chunked fairly low, needs to heal up before he can really escort the payload.
Shot.
Nice, immediately into Drogos.
Nif has been incredible with these shots so far. And honestly, part of the reason that they were able to, on the side of Lilith's Child, get a lot of the space they were able to on that point, being able to get to the 80%, being able to get some of that control back, it has been on the back of this Shaolin being able to go around the side and do exactly this. Just get free, hey, here's 1,000 damage, here's 1,000 damage, here's 1,000 damage, and no one looks at it.
Yeah, that's the hard part of where exactly is this coming from? Why did I just get hit so hard? Oh, there we go, but it's a little too late for me to realize. So off of this Lilith's Child, interestingly, spreading. Oh, ouchie, ouchie, ouchie. That's no fun.
3 people. He's in that area where you're just like, man, my withdrawal's about to wear off, and I'm gonna die. Like there's no coming out of this one alive. And the fact that Drogos, either they didn't see him, they didn't know, maybe they thought he retreated, but there was no wherewithal about where he was positioned, and he still gets 1 kill. And honestly, in that kind of scenario, the fact that you get a single kill is fantastic.
Everybody is just focused on you so much that you're thinking, okay, well, maybe the rest of my team is doing something with this time, and I still got a kill in the process, so I think I'm totally okay with this. Overtime is set in, and the payload being escorted by Gutka on the side of red. Lilith's Child, they've actually kind of backed off more towards their spawn with Buck on the high ground on the opposite end to attempt to collapse upon everyone, and Good Guy Doggo wasn't able to keep himself safe enough.
Still a big fan of Good Guy Doggo's name. Not sure how big a fan I am of the Ying as far as things go. The healing so far even if it is in their favor, it's just one of those things that Ying doesn't provide in the same way you see out of other champions. When you look at Saris, Maldaba, Genos even, she just doesn't offer the same punch.
Yeah, that's kind of what, if you're going a Genos versus Ying, and we are very familiar with how Genos can really supplement the team, and Ying has the potential to do so, but there really aren't a lot of Ying players out there, and it takes a lot of work to make her viable within the composition.
Homeboy is 12-3-3. Nifcaden with this huge backpack, and he is ready to carry anyone that might need to be on the way there. Has the record 2 already, and I'm expecting a lot out of this. I mean, the last round was really good for the Shaolin, and that was honestly like a great way. Of course, this is the final, so they're already warmed up, but you're getting used to how the other team plays. You kind of know a little bit more now. You have a Heat Haze you can pop. That's when you get deadly.
Oh, here's the Dragon Punch, though. Actually goes over the wall and circles around, plucked out before he can actually do anything. Strix picks one up for his team. 2 down on the side of red, 1 on the opposite end, 12% for blue, and it's still climbing in the meantime because of their pressure with the Genos.
Good shots coming down. Misses 1 there overall, but a lot of these flick shots coming down from the Strix. Going to connect and get rid of the Shaolin. Again, probably their biggest threat on the entire side of Lilith's Child. Once he's gone, it makes it a lot easier, especially when you're hitting shots like that.
Yeah, that's a really nice one when you just catch him in the middle of movements. So it's actually 27 to 48% right now, even as far as 1-1, so no comeback mechanic. Going into that stealth mode, you see the planted Shaolin, who makes himself very vulnerable in that time, being luckily able to back on off. And even Drogoz has to find some safety because Buck is here in the back line, attempting to add that pressure, but does get punished.
Right now, Don Quixote is giving a level of play to this Strix that I can only compare to what I used to see when I played like Modern Warfare 2 on Xbox, where it's just like almost like you're not quite at the same level of quick scoping, but you're going for it. You're getting as close as you can, I think, in the game, in the engine, the way it works. You do have to scope in at least a little bit for that shot to be accurate. Of course, you don't need any scope for your Drogoz shots to be accurate. Right now, I mean, Sailor is taking the brunt of the damage, but just these rockets are so deadly in the right spots.
Yeah, Buck luckily has the sustain where he could recover really quickly, but Bomb King not so much. And now look at the mobility! H2K, there's 2 Dragon Punches in a row where he just couldn't land it. And in that time, it's because you're going after such a mobile target that said, oh, I see you, I'm gonna jump the opposite way. But another ultimate actually on the ready if need be. On the opposite side, Lilith's Child, if the Heat Haze, you want to use that to turn around at any point.
Gonna have popped that, pushing back Gutka as much as they can. So far, they've got 2 points. Right now, 12 streak picked up for the Genos. 3 streak back here for the Shaolin, trying to do whatever he can. And again, this position was where he was holding last time. It's not only well covered for him, but using the withdraw properly, you can get a lot of vantage peaks like this where no one knows you're actually peeking.
Yeah, he's just right at this very clear angle onto red and landing some decent shots. Didn't get as much out of the haze, but charging up so nicely, 26% already. And the payload on the regression didn't quite make to that 50% just yet, but there's a whole minute to go if Gutka can actually just have a game-turning play.
So far, I feel like the front lines have been, it's that silent impact, right? Where they've done a lot, but it's always like the carries that you see getting the kills. And even when Fernando, I want to say, has been in this area where he's getting a lot of damage down, you see someone else picking it up, but that was a really good fireball. Managed to hit, I think, 3 there. So that's going to be a lot of damage and immediately puts the pressure on.
So many are chunked low, and he saw that Sailor was in the side corridor, but unable to finish off. Patrick, on the other hand, a double kill, following up very nicely as he sees the enemy team wanting to approach this fight. But Buck is there to apply the pressure.
I don't think there's been a good example of, like, I want to say my ranked experience in these games, because a lot of the time it's just better gameplay overall from these teams. That was one moment where you finally go through, you are Fernando, you're keeping 4 people occupied, and the one guy that you can't control gets a triple kill, kills off your team, and you're just sitting there like, man, how did this go so horribly wrong?
Yeah, that's always the worst feeling. You just look back, I don't know what happened, guys. But H2K, who started off really strong, he's 10-10-4 right now, and a couple of those were the Dragon Punches. Some of them were early on where he was getting 2 kills for his death, where it was okay, but as you can see, things have started to really even up.
A lot of the issues have been coming down from. Knife on the Shaolin, just being able to do pretty much anything that he would want to push forward. He gets a lot of good shots. Heat hazes have been kind of hit or miss, and same with like some of those key shots have been hit or miss. But if he just creates enough space for Patrick, then Patrick steps up, and that's really all you need. You have Bomb King Shaolin. Buck every now and then is, I guess, like a distraction factor for those two, as of the way they've been playing, in the sense that as long as they get set up, they can get a lot of damage and they can make your team win.
And right now, early rotation for Goodka, but here you go. Ying ultimate and the Heat Haze once more from Shaolin. Wants to try and catch them after that ultimate expires. One shot right onto Strix, another shot onto Strix, but not enough to actually clean him up.
H2K gets an early kill. Lord gets a second one. H2K goes down. But the big one for me is you still have your Strix available, who's been hitting some pretty interesting shots, missing probably some of the easier ones, hitting some of the harder ones, but having that impact where he takes care of the carries relatively quickly. Now in the 1v1 on Buck, he's going to chase him down.
And based on the builds for Red, they've really prepped themselves for this capture. Here's the Buck Wild, gets some shots. Patrick finally takes down Strix, and another into the face of good guy Doggo. This might be the opportunity for Lilith Child to actually turn this around after that double kill from the Buck.
That was the best Buck Wild I think I've seen in a long time. Like, there's some that that Buck Wild was useful. That Buck Wild got a lot out of it. That one got you 3 kills, essentially, maybe 4 in total with how he was able to use it and kind of the aggression they had beforehand. Patrick cleans up a couple, and you have it kind of spread throughout the entire team, but that was a beautiful ult from Sailor.
It looks like there is an attempt from Ying to get to the objective, but not possible. So anyone that was trying to just rush over to prevent that capture basically killed off immediately. Managed to get a couple kills in the favor of Goodka, but still, you lost almost everybody.
Getting aggressive. This time Buck is able to make it up onto that ledge and kind of go aggressive now, looking for anybody you might be able to find. And this is the perfect boxing spot for him because he's just going to damage reduction himself, net shot you, and then continue to pelt you with the shot.
Yep, and I think that it took a little bit for Sailor to get completely online, but within the last, I say, round or two, has really managed to step it up for his team. Gets another kill onto H2K, and if you look at the rest of it as well, with Shaolin being able to take the opposite angles of Buck, it's been easier to collapse upon the lineup of Goodka and even get into the back line sometimes.
Good shots so far, falling back. Just Ghost going to be able to get rid of the Khan. Fernando kind of in this awkward position, but he's going to be able to get rid of the Shaolin. And I think, again, that's one of the bigger things you need to do. Although Sailor, again, he's kind of become the silent assassin. He's not the one whose name is popping up on every single kill. He's just the one getting them low enough so that the rest of his team can get all of the kills.
Once in a while, you get a double kill here, there, and then
Casually runs in.
And there were a couple cases where, yes, he died, but you saw that it took Drogos and Strix to go and then turn on him to be able to do that. So all of a sudden, the rest of the team was kind of left to do whatever they wanted to capture or prevent push or whatever it may be.
And round 2, for all of that, I mean, that was where I feel like Strix had the most impact. In the first round, it was like, okay, none of these shots I think are making the big difference, maybe early on in the fight, but that one felt like Drogo's. Round 2, he was hitting a ton of shots, and it made the biggest difference in the fight. And then you get to round 3, and I'm kind of curious, is like, where's your pressure been again? You found some good shots here and there, but I haven't seen you getting the double kills, triple kills, anything that would really make that huge impact.
Finally landed this Dragon Punch, so 3rd time's a charm as far as the last sequences we have seen, and now collapsing upon Terminus, but a little too much protection on his side. And Lilith's Child made it, I think, farther on this than Goodka did on any of their pushes.
Yeah, I mean, they've gotten it relatively close, and this is, I think, just slightly further than Goodka on their, like, their furthest push. But even then, I mean, with 45 seconds, that's just such a small amount of space. The hardest part is getting there safely. You have to find some good flanks. Maybe Bomb King comes into the back line, gets a couple kills. Buck, someone has to open the door for your team.
But Patrick actually chunked down to 600 HP right now on Goodka, using the Ying ultimate, but taken out by Sailor. Maybe Sailor's going to pop off once again, jumps right into the back, attempting to find somebody from the enemy team, but Patrick backs off as well. Nobody wants to just give away their life too unsatisfactorily, and Sailor gets the 1-for-1 trade.
Sai has been, again, kind of quiet this game. 10 seconds left, looking to get aggressive, has his shout in just a second, gonna get the pluck, looking to just burn the Terminus, but actually he's the one who gets burned out of here. Does have his ult available going into the next round, but the team right now is trying to hold on to it, see if they can push this so there isn't a next round.
They might be able to. Goodka, they've lost a frontliner and their support, but they are on the defense, meaning they'll get back into the fight sooner rather than later. Here's the Immortal from Nando, a nice delay until the respawns happen, and Just Ghost actually eliminated. So suddenly, Lilith's Child not as present on the objective, and Lord right now, I think he's doing a great job of holding it down for his team.
Fernando's health bar is the MVP of this fight, and the Immortal that was used to keep him alive. A couple of good shots right there. Keep them moving. Although, they maybe got a little bit too close for comfort right there. There were definitely moments where you could see if Lilith's Child were able to just pull off like one more push. one more kill right there would have been able to push that fully in. As you can see, Sailor going for a lot. And does not have that leg day 2, and no leg day at all even, in his loadout, which is why you've seen him miss a few of these leaps, but again, just trying to get vision even is helpful.
Yeah, sometimes you just want to peek up and say, I wonder if anybody's hanging out here. Is there a party going on that I wasn't invited to? Looks pretty empty, so it's okay. 3-3 right now, Lilith's Child and Goodka, so comes down to 1 point. Builds have gotten pretty progressive. Lots of rejuvenate on tier 3. I see a couple morale boosts. And here we are with just a couple ults on each side either. It's not too dominantly in one's favor. There's it through time and space. Chunking away, picks it up onto H2K as Sailor takes out Strix. So damage potential on Goodka completely negated for now.
Honestly, that's exactly what they needed to start the fight out. You get rid of the two people who've been causing you the most trouble. You get Drogoz, you get Strix, and then you can follow up and try to push, although that time Sailor's the one who goes down. Being still alive through all of this, they might have pushed a little too hard trying to kill off Good Guy Doggo and not able to find it. And even though her healing has been less than Genos, she still had a pretty big impact, because one of the things about Ying is kind of like, again, that silent, it's the healing plus the damage that she outputs. She does a lot of both, or a little bit of both, that really add up together throughout the game.
So this H2K actually ended up just a lesson saying, I don't want to actually continue with this anymore. Get some shots into the Terminus, but the Buckwild activated and the King Bomb, both receiving kills for the time being, but Goodka all the while is standing directly on the objective, 87%, and Lilith's Child with only one frontliner for themselves. They really have to get moments like this where you kill off 3 or 4 members before they can make that rotation.
Lucky for them, their one frontline does have reanimate, so if things go maybe a little bit worse, especially since they have about one more fight that they have to hold if they want to be able to grab this point for themselves and take the map, they do have that reset button, at least for Terminus. A nice planted last shot, didn't connect.
So close, but 96% Lilith's Child. Now Goodka, they have their frontliners directly on the objective. Nave popping his Heat Haze, seeing if he can find a target. There is the Drogoz once more. Maybe this time he'll be able to finish him off, and he does. Suddenly, where'd the team go for Goodka? Another nice shot, and Lilith's Child take game 1.
Very contested overall. I'd say Lilith's Child figured out what was going wrong and finally got aggressive towards that last round. And that through time and space connecting onto H2K was probably the big opener, and then a nice couple of headshots from Buck onto the snipers to get rid of Strix really just created so much space for them.
And Terminus didn't end up having to use the reanimate, but I did like the fact that he held onto it because he had died earlier within that last round without using it, but it was kind of that faith of, I know our team is going to be able to hold enough where the enemy can't actually make it all the way to 100 in time, and I would rather hold it for, if need be, in that last moment when it's close and I die, I can actually come back. But didn't even need it.
And you go back a few phases, I mean, this is a region that you get an ult like that, they pop it immediately. And so being able to watch, again, things that I feel like we learned mainly out of Europe and mainly in the PPL, where it's just that ult economy. How useful is this to just use versus how useful is it to maintain? Terminus ult is one of those ones that you kind of just hold on to until you absolutely have to use it.
Bright Marsh is next. But game 1, that was a brawl, man. 4-3. It was back and forth. And in the end, Lilith's Child were able to pull through. I think in the very beginning of the round, looking like a bit of a different team, and a lot of it was waiting for Buck to just kind of find his way through things. As you said, he was a bit more silent early on, but once he got online, it was pretty effective.
And a lot of it was mobility. He kind of restricted himself, not running leg day 2. especially on Serpent Beach, that you have to go a certain route. You can only jump on certain ledges. Sometimes you'll see a Buck flank more on like the seaside of things, being able to kind of go up there, get on some of the balconies, but he had to go towards the right, towards the waterfall, towards the statues and the cubbies, just to make sure that he could actually jump from place to place.
So a difference in bans this time around, with Inara wasn't picked during Game 1, but ended up getting banned away in Game 2, and Brightmarsh may have something to do with that and Lilith's thought process. But then Maeve, because she's available, gets to be that first pick, and Makoa as well going early.
And I actually really like the way that Gutka have been able to draft this. Maeve is incredibly strong, especially as a tank killer. Khan being able to boost the Shaolin, keep them both healed up. You grab the Fernando. This is a very strong lineup. Depending on the healer they get, Maldamba, I mean, in my money, like a vacuum, this team wins every single fight they go into.
Maldamba didn't even get picked up last time. Gutka had opted for Ying, which, quite frankly, didn't really have such a big impact for their team. And maybe now, bringing this to the table, they'll have a bit more of consistency in their presence within fights.
I think a lot of it is going to be the comfort, really, coming out of the side of Lilith's Child. You have the Bomb King again, the Buck again, which they seem really happy to have last time. Makoa being able to come through, which just means even more setup. And honestly, that's probably the scariest thing. Once you get into Brightmarsh, and any map, honestly, if Makoa can hit his hooks, and there's not as much vertical hooking, I guess, on this map, so it's a lot easier to hit them overall, you are going to be out of position 6 times out of 10, I guess 60% of the time. Like, he's just going to pluck you and kill you.
There are very specific places that are considered high ground on this map, so it makes it a bit more predictable on where your enemy is going to be as far as thinking in a horizontal sense for Makoa. And especially when you're here on the capture, you don't have to worry about taking damage from above. Though at the same time, you have the type of shield you have anyway, where it is full encompassing as opposed to some of the other ones like on Nando.
Knife is doing one of those big flexes where it's, hey, okay, I did great on Shaolin, now I'm going to play Makoa. And honestly, that aim that you have with Shaolin, I think, makes it even better when you're throwing out these hooks. I'm kind of excited to see what he has, but again, I think Gutka have a little bit of a better draft, so you're really going to have to play this one carefully.
And Makoa has a lot of damage potential. There goes one hook that doesn't actually hit anything, has to throw up the shield. But just Ghost goes down for first blood as Conqueror takes it, and Gutka take early capture.
Good healing, good shield, good kills so far as Lord going to be able to pick up Patrick, but loses himself to Sailor. And they're just trying to figure out how to get aggressive. That, again, was Lilith's Child playing the match appropriately. You get 2 people behind the front lines, and then they just start killing people. And the front lines are left in this position of, do we sit on the point and hold what we have been doing, which has been a lot of work, or do we go help them out? They choose a little bit too late to go help out, and because of that, they end up losing their carries.
It was a very similar start to the last game where Gutka ends up getting early capture at 48%, and then with Lilith's Child just laying in wait, Knife and Sailor both picking up kills, as well as just Ghost throwing it back a little bit. Overtime, 99%. And even though Gutka was able to actually capture the first point in the first game, I believe, it looks like Lilith's Child are starting off strong.
And this feels partially momentum-based and partially just the way they've been going. I mean, you get 2 champions that you just played extraordinarily well on. Sailor hasn't had to do any kind of reset for this game where it's like, okay, I'm not Buck anymore. I gotta, like, remember, I can't just jump in, I won't die. Now he's just going to be able to say, well, look, I was performing perfectly at the end of that game on Buck. I'm just going to carry that performance into right here. Even though we don't have the same items, maybe it will work out.
Once again gets aggressive, but gets stunned out and punished for it. And with a whole almost 2 minutes on the clock, though, I think you're okay with that. Make those mistakes at this point in the game as opposed to later. He really saw a low target and wanted to go for it. But Lord's the one on the Shaolin, gets a nice shot into this Makoa. A few of them actually, I wonder if somebody's going to be able to finish it off. It looks like he got to safety just in time. Heat Haze popped. And a focus onto this BK, who falls to get eliminated.
Good shot so far from Lord, getting aggressive where he needs to. The Heat Haze, I want to say, used pretty well to get that aggression back, gain some space. The problem is that, again, like you had mentioned just a second ago, now it's a minute 20. You still have plenty of time to get to this payload. It's not anywhere near as pushed, I think, as you would want it to, but in terms of being able to fight back and actually stand on there, it's exactly where you want it.
Yeah, I agree with that. And right now, we're about to reach that 1 minute mark, and Lilith, they lost so much traction, though, within that last bit. And Laura taking a lot of damage immediately. Sailor finally kind of getting in that same groove he did in game number 1, right? A couple movements earlier that were questionable, but even earlier this time that he's starting to find his groove as he takes out Makoa. Just nice shots to Buck Wild, finding himself a Nando as well, hops onto the high ground, and obviously can't kill them while they're in their spawn area, but I think pressuring them inside is just as good.
And honestly, that was another Buck Wild that, again, it's going to be more standard, I guess, is the way things go. You're not always going to get 2-3 kills out of it, but just being able to say, I'm focusing down the Fernando. He's gone, I got him. And then you can start pressuring out. You jump in, you get in May's face, you force her to fall back. Now you're forcing Khan to fall back. You get thrown around, but honestly, your shotgun's doing a lot of work.
I think Gutka really don't want to go down 2 points right now, and using the Midnight and stuff are things that really tell that story, but you still don't get the impact that we saw with the Buck Wild and Lilith's Child. They managed to push through.
Even a little spice kill on the Lord towards the tail end of that one again, just trying to push things forward. Good guy Doggo switching from Ying to Khan. 0-4-2 right now, probably not unimpactful. The Khan has been there, he's been doing a lot, but it feels like they aren't using him to his maximum potential. And I think that's the difference that we're going to see. A lot of teams, the way Khan has to work is teamwork. There is no way to make Khan work as this side tank on his own. His job is buff the Maeve. His job is buff the Shaolin. His job is use that shield appropriately. You have a Fernando. He's going to be on the point. Yep. You dance around the side.
And maybe because good guy Doggo is actually the one that's playing this Khan right now, who was playing support previously, perhaps that means that he's actually a bit more of a vocal player, right? And Khan is somebody who, when he has somebody on lockdown, you do need to call out to your team and say, hey, this is what I'm doing right now. Can you help me? Can we have that teamwork? And support players, somebody that can actually flex into that, usually has the potential of doing so. But there was a third time and space. Nif takes out H2K, and a few more ultimates come online. The Dread Serpent, good guy Doggo, trying to make his way through almost with his ultimate charged up, but gets punished by Patrick before it can happen.
And now being able to go forward. Still has the Ancient Rage. A hook not going to connect right there, but there's going to be the ult. Makoa going in, swinging this anchor around, picks up another one. Lord goes down. Don Quixote is going away, and now you have no healing on the side of Gutka Makash.
Still maybe able to get this kill even past the Ancient Rage. There you go, a little finish off with the help of this BK, but Lilith's Child, 63% and climbing. And I think it was a matter of some cooldowns being down for Makoa as well, not able to get the hook earlier, but it was enough pressure. You pushed Nando away, and now 99%, there's your capture, and this is point number 3 of the game.
And again, it feels very momentum-based for this team right now. You're just rolling forward. You've got these champions that you're feeling comfortable with, 15 streak and 11 streak burning right now for your Bomb King and your Genos. And even though your Makoa just dies, even though you actually lose, I want to say just a couple members there, you can still get aggressive. You can still win the fight. You can still get a big push. This King Bomb could change a lot.
Oh, who's he going to find?
Just
right into the face of the Nando. A couple more stickies, and he is gone. Gutka losing so much of their defense right now. And Lilith's Child just able to rotate now more as a unit as opposed to when they just sent Sailor on forward. So this pressure, I don't think is going to be letting up for quite a while.
Game number 1, I would say, is probably, it felt very stereotypical Southeastern Asia when it comes down to their Paladins play. This feels completely different right now. Lilith's Child have brought it to the next level. Dome Shield going to get dropped down right there. The shield from Makoa keeping him just alive. There goes H2K, and this payload's still rolling forward.
Yeah, they got a lot of time left on the clock, but Gutka doesn't look like they feel like they have a lot of time the way they're having to play right now, throwing out that Dread Serpent. And Sailor, he's once again from that back angle, lands a nice shot to finish off. Good guy Doggo falling down. But now just you're putting bombs outside of the spawn doors. Nobody can actually peek out, and Lilith's Child get game number 2.
That was, they were on the highway in game number 1. It's kind of trafficy, right? They're not getting where they want. Kind of like you this morning on the way here. And then they hit like just open road, and they slammed it down.
Yeah.
They just go as fast as they can.
The way game 1 went, I honestly thought, this might go the distance, right? If we see more of this play where it's just back and forth, could go 4 or 5 games. But then Lilith's Child in game number 2, it was much more clean. A little bit here and there early on, but yeah, I think it was maybe 2 minutes into the game that then they really, really started powering.
Yeah, and again, that like first fight that came down, it looked like it could have been closer. It definitely looked like it could have gone somewhere like it was like 1-1, but they did not do it the way they wanted to. Again, Khan, I think, was really the thing that it looked like it could have been strong. It did not hit that same mark that I feel like you want.
Yep. Now Lilith's Child, they're up 2-0. So if they just repeat the type of performance they had last time, and I think, well, Jaguar Falls is banned away, so I wonder where they're going to go. Because otherwise I would say, yeah, your Bomb King play and everything was good, so why not go somewhere that is a bit more good for him? Obviously, they don't have map pick, but then like on the opposing team, if you could do something like that. But the fact that Goodka Makesh actually banned away Jaguar Falls, I wonder if that also means they don't really play that kind of comp.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that I think has been the downside. And I notice just looking through, I mean, even the past when you look at like Serpent Beach, Jaguar Falls, Terminus is really big on maps like that. I'm actually kind of surprised we didn't see him at all last game with the way things could have gone.
Especially with the Nara band away.
But he's always in that area. Like, this is a map that if he comes out, I'm going to be kind of surprised because it feels not necessarily inverse, but it's still not the perfect pull them to me. I'm going to be right in the same ring with you. And
now Lilith, I guess they don't want to play the Mako, or they didn't want to have to force into a first pick, so they go back to banning him away, which means Drogo's once again available because of some of the switch up. And at this point, I think the Buck ban is safe. You see it sometimes even preemptively going into teams, but after 2 games where Sailor was just so oppressive, then you got to do something about it.
There's no reason not to ban it away, especially considering last game your bans really didn't make that big a difference. Makoa has to get taken away, Maeve has to get taken away. Even though, again, last game, Maeve didn't do too much. It's in that area of, in the right circumstances, she's going to kind of excel. And Nara comes through, and I think that's the big reason to grab a Terminus. He's going to be a great counter for her in terms of not only his loadout, but just damage. And typically someone who goes Bulldozer, and if we see another Ying, which I doubt we will, or at least I hope that we won't, that'd be just an even bigger pickup.
Yeah, I do hope that they stay away from it right now. Good, they lock in the Pip, and we could see a double support composition potentially. And Eevee as well. It's going to be the first Eevee we see, and not an easy champion to actually navigate.
I'm kind of curious. CIS and SEA both really, really love their Eevee play, but they're always in this area of just on the verge of not quite, like, it's going to be very hit or miss. Yesterday we were saying, actually on PPL, saying you can ride or die by your Eevee. If you have a great Eevee, she can almost single-handedly win you the game. If you don't, you're going to lose that game 100% because it's just going to feel like a 4v5. And Droxus, Terminus, Cassie, it feels like it's going to be a rough Eevee game.
And Androxus, whether it's Eevee or Drogos, he's going to have much of an easier time focusing down on these targets, and that's going to be basically his job. Set Cassie up somewhere where, especially if on the early part of the game on the stairwell side, if you can actually get a head start on that, and set Cassie or Shaolin, I mean, you have both options, where they don't even have to move around a lot, just land a couple shots on whoever is trying to dominate the objective, send Androxus to flank whoever is needed, then feels pretty good. But Tyra, potentially.
Lilith's Child right now have a great composition for this map, and just in general. Again, Cassie is incredibly strong because she can kind of hold the range for you, and Androxus will do the flank. Shaolin can do pretty much anything he wants. He can take it from range, he can get close in your face, he can just withdraw and go around and flank you. And so you have pretty much everything you would need on that side. Genos to keep him alive, even though they're all going to be spread out, and then Terminus to stand on the point. The other side, Drogo's, Bomb King, Eevee, Triple Blaster, Quadra Blaster with Pip in there. Not something that we see often. Blast Shields is going to be a big pickup.
Interesting, interesting. Yeah, we saw in the PPL a bit more extensive dive into blaster play as far as within one composition, but this is a different level, different capacity, different region and everything. So especially considering that we haven't seen this team throughout the game. They didn't have the Bomb King previously or anything like that. I wonder what they have up their sleeve.
Knife switching back onto the Shaolin. Patrick, though, this time not going to have the Bomb King, going to be on the Cassie. And when it comes down to it, I mean, if you're going Quadra Blaster versus no Blaster, I typically prefer no Blaster just because even no Blaster means that, you know, I guess Haven can come through, but you're kind of forcing very specific itemization from a lot of these members.
That's the hard part about when you go into a composition that has a similar approach or strategy from multiple players, is you gain even more value about some of the itemization, but right into the back actually finds Pip so early. Sailor in some trouble, but manages to find the first blood onto Good Guy Doggo, but Good Guy actually gets a couple kills in their favor. I just loved that rotation. It was so aggressive and so bold.
And exactly what he needed. Again, if that last shot, like he hits that one instead of missing it to get the last headshot before having to kind of do that reset and get back into the fight, kills off Pip, gets first blood relatively early. Then you take good control of this. Right now, though, Eevee off to a good roll. Going to be at least 1 kill. Shadow Hunter coming in here for Gutka and kind of making maybe a little bit of a flex for them being able to bring this blaster.
69% for Gutka. Have to step off of it for now. Lilith's Child need to pick up a little bit of steam right now, but Sailor finally eliminated. He was getting some nice picks. I honestly thought that first play might have backfired for a second because he did miss a couple, and I thought, oh no, but in this time actually worked out. Nif takes down one of his key targets right now, the Eevee.
I would say a very standard kill on the Eevee as well. The Ice Block comes through. There's not enough healing to bring her back, and so you just wait.
Yep.
And once that Ice Block's done, bam, shot to the head,
Chip
you're
away
gone.
at the old block.
And now Patrick's going to be able to get aggressive with that, trying to box his former, I guess, champion when it comes down to it. The Bomb King ends up going down, but the point control right now is there for Lilith's Child.
2 down on both sides, but Lilith's Child are the ones with the frontliner that can still hold in the meantime, right? Sometimes that's all you can ask for. Cutting it a bit closer than they have in the past when Gutka, they always have seemed to get the early pressure onto the point, but this time up to 96, 99% overtime. Everybody's grouped on the objective. Terminus chunked down way too low as HUK looks to finish it off, and Gutka get the first points.
Being able to push forward now and control once again. But the problem is, every time I feel like they've gotten the point, their push has been a little lackluster, which for me was more Lilith's Child, especially in map number 1. You would lose the point because you just admittedly had a bad point fight, and then the defense would come through and you would wipe their team. And it'd be like, where was this fight 30, 45 seconds ago? Like, why is it coming out now on the defense? Part of it is just because you see Gutka in this position like push out and they're in the open a little bit more. But then some of it is just all of a sudden they start hitting these shots they weren't hitting before.
You think, wait, what? That was a bit more dim dummies taken earlier on in the round when they just weren't landing, so you do have to account for changes in accuracy like that. But the payload not moving too far for Gutka right now. Minute and 40 on the clock to go. Good guy Doggo on this Pip, maybe as we've seen him play different roles between the Khan and then he had the Ying earlier. Right now he's on the Pip. I want to see kind of what the biggest click for him is.
So far, I'm curious as to where these evil mojos are going to be coming out, because those, I think, are the most important. In terms of erasing, mainly Terminus, maybe a little bit of others if you can get more than that, but honestly, that's going to be the big kill. Hold on to that. Maybe you have a Dragon Punch that hits Terminus and Reanimate comes through. Then you evil mojo, and you just double tap him, get him as dead as you can, as quick as you can, and key moments like that will make the difference towards the end of a game.
Ooh, luckily had the follow-up from the Bomb King. Otherwise, Sailor, I think, was going to punish Pip in that interaction. And right now, off of that back, still so many ultimates available for Gutka, everything except for the Dragon Punch and Lilith's Child. They're on the deficit in that sense as well, having used some of the ultimates really, really recently.
Getting aggressive, forcing people like Patrick to have to fall back. Knife trying to do whatever he can, but again, just a couple of steps too far forward will kill you on certain areas of this map, and that was just one of them. The aggression and the control from Gutka means that you have to play it a lot more carefully on the defense.
Rickety wrecked for a moment. Lord gets the kill onto Cassie. So it's just a 1-for-1 trade right now, Cassie and Eevee. H2K pretty low, but luckily with the help of his fellow blaster are able to collapse upon Sailor once more. And I think this is the first game where Gutka really seemed to be actually focusing down on Sailor. Regardless of what champion he's playing, he's just been having some really good flank play.
Now, being able to come around the corner. Actually, this could be big if Lord can keep going. Double kill for him right now, being picked up. Poppy Bomb up over the corner. Going to look to try and find this Androxus. It's just going to be difficult, and he gets taken down in the process.
In the end, the defense, they just get back into the fight a bit more quickly. So even though Lord got that nice succession of kills, it didn't take long for them to make themselves known once again in the fight. So Lilith's Child, it's their defense.
Man, that was pretty much everything they would have wanted in that kind of instance, honestly. Just picked it up right at the tail end. There wasn't a whole lot going for them for a lot of that push, except stall them here, stall them there, stall them there. Okay, we can get a team wipe right here, and they win off of that, keeping it tied up 1-1, which means that there's no point capture enhancement for either of these sides. No comeback mechanic, as they're going to be tied. And the damage, I want to say, is leaning just because of the Cassie. It's pretty heftily in favor of Lilith's Child. But I'd kind of like to see Shaolin jump up a little bit more than where he is.
It's almost because Gutka is spending so much time having to focus down on Sailor, it is giving a bit more of an open opportunity to the Bow Bros on the side of Lilith's Child. Yeah. And then you also see Lord on Gutka, where he was like 8-4-5, I think, something like that. and he's just been able to clean up kills very nicely, whether he's initiated them or not. And now a fight starting to begin. Shadow's the first one to fall after that. Nobody rotating just yet to the opposite side, just kind of want to take domination of the stairwell.
Good heals coming down from Pip, but there is something that kind of plays into this. You do have a card cooldown to reset your heal. So once you throw one out, you hit 3 people on your team, you pretty much instantly get it back. But the problem is how quickly you use it after that. I think it has a 4-second internal cooldown before it can actually apply that again. So you do have to be a little bit more patient with it. Now the boxing match is going back and forth. Blasters seem to be the way that this is going as they take it out of control and kill off Lilith's Child.
Starting things off with that Ice Storm, and then Shadow Hunter getting, I think it was double kill at the time, picked up another one later. And by taking Knife off the table immediately, then I think the rest of Lilith's Child just had some difficulty keeping up. But they're back into the fight. It's 51% on both sides. An opportunity for Lilith's Child to break back into it because they're keeping themselves spread because they don't want to group too much.
Trying to find their way back into it, 51-78. Not anywhere near as in control as they were before. Good shots and maybe good positioning could change this entire fight, but immediately Patrick goes down, and you do not look like you're in a good spot as Terminus, 68%, no reanimate. So you're very uncomfortable.
Ooh, double kill for Knife, and Terminus was barely stunned out in that. There's a triple kill for the Shaolin. Suddenly, quadra kill, baby. Oh, man. These are just tremendous plays coming out of Lilith right now. It looks like it's going to be their capture. I don't see a way of Good could get him back.
Again, that was Knife. You go back to game 1, round 2, essentially, in that one. Just, hey, everyone, hop in the backpack. I'm carrying you all the way, at least for a point. Going to go ahead and pick up a quadra, find 4 kills right there, and make the difference for the team. Lilith's Child, again, just being able to pull ahead. If they can get the momentum they had during the last map, they can slam the gas pedal the same way, then they could potentially get themselves up 3-1 and try to close this map out a little bit sooner.
Punch. See, I don't think of it as a, whenever I like hear that phrase of the backpack, I think of it as one of those, you know, those baby holder things? Or like, yes. I don't know what they're called. Like, do you have like a 4-person?
Baby carrier?
Yeah, is that, I feel like it seems like something that there would be some kind of name for, like some company that made enough where they just became the vocabulary, but I don't know, we'll figure it out. Shadow Hunter gets a kill onto Sailor, so slowing down the roll of this aggression.
Falling back, and honestly, it's been this Inara. Like, watching her health bar, I think, has been my favorite thing, just because you can see where Pip's healing comes in when it's like, okay, Inara's almost dead, Inara's almost dead. Okay, now Inara has a full health bar again. We have to burn her one more time, and because of the way things have been going, if you've been paying attention, like, the items at this point are pretty much blast shields for a lot of members of Lilith's Child. Good Kamesh all have Haven. And when it comes down to it, I feel like the blast shield hurts a little bit more overall, but 4 members with Haven means 4 members that are much harder to kill for everyone on Lilith's Child.
We haven't seen a lot of solo healing Pip actually recently either. A lot of times it's in combination, so depending on what talent he ends up going with, whether he wants to be focusing more on supplemental healing or damage. But in this case, with Good Guy Doggo having to pick up the entirety of that healing to keep the team alive, particularly with the Inara. So when you have that burst healing up, you just throw it right onto the Rock Lady.
Getting aggressive, coming around the side. Sailor has been, again, not, I want to say less, I don't even know the word for it, where it's just, he's had bursts of effectiveness overall this game versus what it was with Buck. Buck was kind of like a consistent effectiveness with bursts in between. This is like, okay, you're either laying low or you're high profile.
Well, I've seen moments with him, I feel like there's some where he lands an entire clip into somebody, and then others where he'll miss like 4 shots and then have to just soon get back to the reload. So I think that's kind of where he's at right now. And it's just enough for Lilith's Child to push this through. It's 3-1, but no reanimate, no heat haze, all ultimates up on the opposite side. And the thing is, even when he is missing those 4 shots, you have Knife who just gets a quadra kill, or he can just pick up any of the slack where need be.
And that was just perfect setup. If that Eevee doesn't kill him immediately, I feel like he flicks and gets the kill on her as well, just to make sure that they keep control. Although now you're coming into this, no heat haze, no reanimate for this round. You have Scout, so you've got a little bit of vision. But looking at the other side, Ice Storm, Evil Mojo, King Bomb, Seismic Crash, Dragon Punch, like, it is just stacked for killing your team.
I think that's the most blast shields I've seen in a long time.
Oh, yeah, no, it doesn't happen often.
It's not just a tier 1 on each of them where it's a last minute, I guess I'll pick this up. It was prioritized a bit earlier. But it makes sense when you're going against this composition. Like we said earlier on in the game, it's one thing when you're trying to get an item to face off and mitigate the damage from 1 or 2 players, but when it's this many players, then suddenly your entire damage consumption is lowered significantly.
And honestly, because of this, it's in that funny area where we pick 4 blasters, so you have to get blast shields. And then, well, you get blast shields, so we have to take 1, maybe 2 more shots to kill you, which means you're killing us faster, so we have to get Haven so we don't die as quickly as you want us to while trying to take you down. So it's just like this weird loop of we've kind of forced ourselves to buy items and not prioritize the Cauterize.
Exactly. That's why you see a lot of times this is where you'll see the Cauterize or something all the way tier 3 for so many players, but a bit of a different prioritization. There's an Evil Mojo. No cleanup on anything, though. Through time and space, right down the middle. Takes down Good Guy Doggo. Neef is right back. And Knife gets 1 kill, looking for another. Rains some into Inara, who throws up the wall for that level of protection. A nice long shot, but Eevee is able to blink to safety.
Now looking to jump around, get aggressive. Knife coming up around the corner. Everyone on Gilgamesh pushed back as far as they can, and there's no real way to get out of this. I mean, that shot right here should come through. Eevee going to be able to blink out of there just barely as they're trying to figure out how to come around. But I mean, that's 75%. They're up 3-1. They could win this.
Dang, Knife ends up getting taken down, though, but it's 90%. Lilith's Child still climbing. H2K with the Dragon Punch, his attempt to tilt things back into their favor, and takes down the Genos, but Gutka, they're missing 3 players as well.
A couple of good shots. You have an Inara right there, but I like where Patrick's mind is. Focus on the people that are going to come in and make it so she stays alive a little bit longer. They can take care of her. They can kill her off. You have control.
Oh, here's overtime. You took down the Inara. You took down the Pip. And Lord tries to get back into the fight, but Adrogos and Inara, the only one standing, and Swan didn't like getting killed earlier, so instead gets a double kill, takes down H2K, and Lilith's Child puts it away for a 3-0 set victory.
Little bit of a rough start, I would say, for them. Definitely not going the way they wanted it to, but they picked up their momentum. They slammed it during Bright Marsh, and then I guess they just tied up the neat little bow right there. That first point was a little shaky, but again, they got their feet under them.
Yeah, it didn't feel like a dominating 3-0. I think game number 2 was really clean. This one, it wasn't a 4-3 or anything like that either, but I think Good Cut, even when they lost the point, still put up a decent fight. So with that, we have our results for this week. Of course, both of these teams, as well as your semifinalists, will be making it into the finals of the phase, where one team will come out swinging at the LAN.
I'm kind of excited to see these teams again. There's a few regions that I think can actually showcase the team strength all around the most and kind of have a smaller gap between the top and bottom, and I think SEA is one of those, so it's pretty competitive. And honestly, you look at, if you look at next week's bracket, you have no idea who's actually going to be able to come out and win that finals. So
schedule-wise, this was our only PGS match of the day. We have PPL happening later on at 3 p.m. And then tomorrow we round things out with both CIS. I mean, if you want to tune
Paladins.
in, I mean, Ion is the channel that pretty much always has CSI or Criminal Minds and all that. Maybe when you're not watching Paladins, if that's your taste, you can go watch that. But it's CIS, Latin America, and then our last PPL broadcast of the week.
I feel like CSI Paladins right now could be like the mystery. Like, we could have done a week-long thing of like, where's Evan?
Dun, 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 where is
the missing
he?
rain day. And then when he gets back, we'd film a scene where he's like laying out with like a thing, one of the body lines drawn around him.
Right. Or he's just setting up in Atlanta trying to figure out, I really want to be prepared for DreamHack, guys. So,
even better.
That's where I am. I'm just scoping out the scene, making sure it's all right for you in November. I mean, we're a bit of a ways off, so I think it would be a little preemptive if that's what he was doing. But November 16th through 18th, if you want to be there, just go to highresexpo.com to purchase your tickets.
You're going to have a lot, and it's going to be exciting. I'm pretty pumped to get there because I feel like, again, we outgrew the old venue, and we're adding in a lot more than just us that's going to be around there. So there's a lot to do. Even if you're just a fan of Paladins, you can kind of check everything out while you're there.
I think it'll be impossible to be bored. There's just way too much to
absolutely.
do.
You're also in downtown Atlanta, so even if you don't like anything else at the convention, there's so much around there.
Lots to look forward to, guys. So dream away for DreamHack. We're going to sign off here for PGS and gear up for some PPL later. So see you later.